Take us away.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. So I was slightly distracted there for a second. Welcome to healthierlife.tv on this beautiful Wednesday morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, or evening for that matter. And Warren Connolly coming to you here from Santander, just outside of Budapest in Hungary. And my co-presenter is coming to you from, and he is...
Paul Bursey, and I'm coming to you from London in the UK, or just outside London in the UK. So with that, our subject today, which we'll get straight into, is why should healthy muscles matter? Now, more importantly, why should healthy muscles matter to you? Meaning everyone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So take us away there, Warren. What do you reckon? What should be the opening statement or comment?
Well, seeing as I specialize in working with people over 40, for me the most prevalent reasoning for having strong muscles or working your muscles is from an aging perspective. Recent studies have just shown that, in actual fact, muscle mass is probably more potent or more relevant to anti-aging than antioxidants are. Okay, so for that reason alone, I think most people should really consider the advice that they get when speaking about increasing your muscle mass. Now, just one thing I want to just highlight from the beginning here. When we talk about muscle mass or muscle density or anything like that, we're not talking about necessarily getting big muscles. I mean, if you look at me, I'm not a big guy, okay? But I'm strong, and my muscle mass is quite dense. So my muscles are strong. Doesn't mean that I'm big, all right? And this is something, I think it's a misconception that a lot of people have, and this is especially with ladies. They think that if they're going to do strength training of any kind, they're going to get big muscles. That's not going to happen, ladies, especially as we get older. And guys, especially as we get older, all right? There are ways you can pack on the muscle as we get older, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about just having strong, healthy, solid muscles. That's going to really help you as you get older.
Absolutely. And look, the most important thing is we take it for granted. We take our muscles and everything else that goes with it for granted, and it's not until something goes wrong, that we think about it. And a lot of people abuse their bodies for many years, and then they fall foul later on in life. And the whole idea is to get in a good frame of mind and good habits at a very early age, so that you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the biggest areas for me is exercise. Now, whatever it is you do, it could be that you work extremely hard and you exercise well during the day. It could be that you work in an office and don't really get the chance to let the muscles rip, So you're going to have to think about it a little bit and work out how you're going to deal with the mobility and movement, during your day or during your week. So do you come across in when you're doing your training, when you're dealing with people, that some people have been sedentary for a long time, not moving very much? Or do you tend to train people that are already well into it thinking-wise?
No. Most people throughout my 20-odd years in the industry, most people just have never done anything in their lives, and the pity here is that some people that think they've been doing enough really haven't been doing enough, because at the end of the day, going for a cycle, going for a run, or going for a walk, that's good. It's good for your heart. It's good for your organs. It's good for your mind, but it's not enough. Okay, it just isn't enough. You should be doing something else that is more strength-based in particular, that's going to help your muscles to maintain their healthy status. And most people are nowhere near that. Where was it? Just this morning, I was, and this is a slight deviation here. But nevertheless, if you look at the backstory that I'm going to allude you to now, is that I was reading a story about one of Manchester United, because Manchester United is my team, by the way. I don't own them, but they're the team I support. And one of their starlets was talking about where he's benefiting working with a player like Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, and he made a comment about something as innocuous as he noticed that he would be laying in the sun with his shirt off, and like he asked him, like, why do you do that? He said, because of the vitamin that my body is getting from being in the sun. So this is a young football professional that plays for his country and has come through the United Academy, and he doesn't even know this kind of information. And if someone like that doesn't know that information, and this is a young kid, and we're not talking about somebody that's already Cristiano Ronaldo's age, because a lot of the time that kind of information wasn't really shared amongst professional athletes. But today, you would think it is, right? And even this kid didn't know that the benefit of vitamin D and being in the sun with your skin being exposed to the sun and what that does for your health. So let alone the average person on the street. They think they do. Some people think they're doing enough, but for the most part, they're not.
Well, I mean, look, the one thing we do know is that everything is connected. So when we do a subject, a lot of these overlap, and so they should, because we're talking about the whole body, you know. And as I say, if one thing's not working, then you can bet yourself that there's lots of other things that aren't working as well.
Yeah.
And that's why everything is interlinked. Everything. And
because it's a science at the end of the day, and science.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, what's one of the things you need to help your muscles function properly? Blood. So there you go. There's one thing. And what do you need to have healthy blood? You need water.
And oxygen.
So it goes on, and everything. What I'm saying is, it'd be like a mind map, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Everything will be going off everything, and it will be all interlinked. You probably could. It'd be so complicated, you probably couldn't read it. So, but I mean, the biggest thing about the muscles for us average mere mortals is the fact that it allows us to move around freely and effortlessly, if we look after them.
If they're conditioned.
Conditioning and things like that. So it's not, anything you need to do, you can fit in your day without any problem whatsoever. So it's not a case of, oh my God, where am I going to find any more time? Most of the things you do already.
Yeah. Well, this is what I teach. I teach the people I work with. I teach them how to get a full workout in within 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Where you're working your whole body, and you're increasing your flexibility, your agility, your strength, everything, your vitality. So it doesn't mean you have to be doing something for an hour and a half, or even 45 minutes for that matter. I don't recommend that most people train for more than 45 minutes in any case. Once you go beyond 40 minutes, your body starts to catabolize itself.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, your nutrition is on point, but that's invariably not the case. So, just a quick one. Shout out to Jeff Lamming. Hi, Jeff. Nice to hear from you.
I can't see the comments.
Yeah. So, hi, chaps. But look. The other thing is that you touch on it, Paul. It's the ability to be able to move and keep moving, and this is one of the key factors as we get older, is independence. I often use it. I often tell people, when you see an elderly individual walking around with a walking stick, or a cane or a Zimmer frame, that's not age. That's immobility and lack of muscle mass.
Yeah,
the muscles have wasted away, and they have no mobility in their bodies, and because of that, they are unable to hold themselves up correctly. Because the same thing happens with people that have got Parkinson's disease and stuff like that. Eventually they can't walk or neuromuscular disease, because
Yes.
their muscle mass is decreased. It gets eaten away, deteriorates. So that's why they end up being wheelchair bound or something like that. So it's not about age. Age is just an excuse, and that's a reason for the medical fraternity to pump you full of more drugs and stuff like that, because they use age as the excuse. It's not age. You've got to move. You've got to keep yourself able and mobile and agility. You increase your agility and your balance, your coordination, all of these things, and that reduces the risk of falling and so forth. It's a knock-on effect for you.
Everything's connected.
Everything's connected,
Isn't
right?
it? I mean, look, you control some muscles, and they're called voluntary muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so give us an example of a voluntary muscle, Ron.
The cheeks.
Your cheeks, yeah. When you're running, when you've got someone you're training, they're using voluntary muscles in their legs, the calves, and their thighs, or wherever it is they're using, their arms, and then they're also called skeletal muscles because they're attached to the bone with tendons, right? And some are attached with ligaments as well, depending on the size.
It depends on what the muscle is, yeah.
Yeah, so it's important. It's important for you to have strong bones as well.
Well, also here again is it's more important to have strong skeletal muscles than it is to have strong biceps.
Yeah.
As you get older, especially because the skeletal muscles, this is your foundation. This is what helps your external muscles, your pectoral muscles, your deltoid muscles, your biceps, your triceps, your thighs, your quads, your hamstrings. That's what helps those muscles to maintain their strength and their size, whatever your goal is. Okay. But if your skeletal muscles are not strong, your structure is compromised. Your posture is compromised. Your lower back safety and hips are compromised because your skeletal muscles are not where they need to be. So, for example, like I had when I first moved to Dubai in 2006, okay, I was doing a workout in the gym one day. I've been there for like 2 weeks, and I was the fitness manager of the first mass franchise. I was a fitness manager for Fitness First, and so I should be leading by example, right? So I'm in the gym and I'm doing I did a heavy leg workout, and I mean, when I say heavy leg workout, I mean it was a heavy leg workout. And then I was just cooling down afterwards, just doing a very basic, not basic, but for me it was a basic movement with a bar, with a 20-kilogram bar, just the bar, just doing it like this, pressing and so forth. And then on the 8th repetition, as I got up to here, I just felt straight down my back and across my hips. I just felt everything snap, like it was like watching a building getting imploded. That's how I felt. And I was paralyzed, temporarily paralyzed, and I was in traction for, I can't remember how long it was now, maybe about 10 days or something like that. I was in traction. And it was because my skeletal muscles were not as strong as I thought they were. Yeah. So I did a heavy load workout, and my skeletal muscles just enough. They'd had enough. They were over fatigued, they were over flexible, over fatigued, and they just snapped. They couldn't handle it anymore. Everything just tore apart. So my muscles are down my spine, the lower part of my spine, and right across my hips, the ligaments, everything just snapped. So ever since then, as I'm getting older, I've had to take care and more care of that. Okay. Fortunately, my nutrition really helps. So that's made a huge difference for me. But I keep mobile and I keep active. I haven't used it as an excuse or a reason to stop. But I've just got to change. And as I got older, I realized I need to change how I train.
Yeah. We've got to start bringing a bit more training into healthylife.tv. I think we had at one stage we were doing it quite a lot, weren't we? And
I think maybe one day I might even do. I'm putting myself on the block here, maybe, but maybe one day I'll do a live workout video on the podcast.
Absolutely, yeah, sounds good to me. It's good to me, but to me, it's all about mobility. If you're mobile enough, if there's aches and pains and different things like that. and you could go through a whole long list of things.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something wrong, your body's telling you a message that you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
Okay. The things you do wrong in your 20s and 30s and before and after, have a big effect on your body moving forward and into the middle ages and into the old age. And I can tell you that from experience that thank God I paid attention and started taking care of all the different things with nutrition and exercise and things like that. Now, is my sort of regime or whatever I do perfect? Absolutely not. But I'll tell you what, it's better than most.
Doesn't need to be perfect.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's you've got to be moving in the right direction and then maybe just tweaking it occasionally. So we've talked about voluntary muscles, which are also known as skeletal muscles. What about the involuntary muscles? Where are we going to find those? Because obviously the voluntary ones we've got control of.
Probably not the one that comes to mind for most people, but the most important one is the heart.
Absolutely. That's it's big. It's an involuntary muscle, but it's been given its own place. So because it's that important. But the other involuntary muscles, we'll come back to the heart because again, it's the most important one. Where else have you got muscles? Involuntary muscles. Now, don't go to certain places, but this is a family show.
My dirty mind's taking me down below the waistline.
Okay.
And look, if you have like a reflex action, for example, those are you're using involuntary muscles. So, for example, like when you go to the doctor and they tap on your knee, your knee kicks out. That's an involuntary response. Okay.
Hopefully, striking the doctor.
Well, we used to have this law in South Africa when I was at school. We used to get canings.
All right.
Yeah, corporal punishment.
Yeah, I've had a few of those.
And there was a loophole in the law that stated that if you get a caning or a lashing, you can within a split second, because if sometimes it may happen where a person gets hit and out of a defense mechanism they lash out. Okay. And that's part of our that's not conditioning, but it's part of our biology. And sometimes some of the students, they realized this law, they knew that this law existed, and they would get a caning and they would turn around,
take the pain. What's the matter?
Yeah, they got away with it as well a few times until they changed the law.
Yeah, we won't go down the corporate punishment route because that's has three divided parties. All I would say is that I didn't have a problem with it at all. None. The only time it becomes a problem is if you've got someone who's not doing it for the right reasons. That's all I'll say. Anyway, muscles. Did you know we lose 3 to 5% of our muscles per decade? And it starts as early as the 30s. So, if you don't take care of it, you lose it.
Sarcopenia, anyone that wants to know? Sarcopenia.
All right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yes.
That's the term for it.
I was trying not to be technical, but the other thing is that a lot of people, especially older people, stay in bed, like if they're in a care home or something like that, or someone's rehabilitating type of thing, and the muscle will atrophy or atrophy, however you want to pronounce it, and it just means that you're losing. If you don't use it, you lose it. All right.
Now, one week in bed is equivalent to, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 1 week in bed is equivalent to 3 months of inactivity.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, even from a common sense point of view, rather than a medical point of view.
We can't talk about common sense these days.
No, you can. I think you can, but you've got to be careful. Yeah,
a lot of people have lost their common sense.
One person's common sense is another person's ignorance, And again, it could be on the other way as well. It could be
Yeah.
that if you're an athlete, if you know what you're doing, or a trainer, then common sense is very, very important. But yeah, you have to be careful what you say. So what else do we want to talk about? I think the key is keeping your muscles healthy. It's really, really as simple as that.
And if you're doing say like 30 minutes a day of working out, say 3 to 5 days a week, I wouldn't recommend doing anything less than 3 days a week, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing more than 5 days a week, unless you've of course been training for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day is more than sufficient.
It sounds a lot, doesn't it? But it's not really.
It's not really.
No.
And then we're talking about moderate exercise here. I'm not talking about pushing the envelope. I'm talking about burning yourself. I'm just talking about moderate exercise. There's also, remember, the other thing is this: is unless you're young and you're watching this, things like HIIT training, high intensity interval training, or interval training in itself is relevant, and it's important for, not important, but it's relevant, more relevant for the younger generations. So when you're in your teens, 20s, 30s, up till around your early 40s, it's okay to be doing HIIT training or interval training on a regular basis. Once we start to go over that age bracket, HIIT is no longer as relevant anymore. It can actually be more detrimental, especially if you're doing a lot of plyometric movements where you're jumping a lot and those kinds of things. You don't want to be doing that more than twice a week. All right. So if I'm talking about moderate training here, so if you're doing body weight training, if you're training with the TRX, or if you're working on bars, or just moderate weights, whether it be on a machine or free weights, that's sufficient, and just train your whole body. Don't just focus on one area, you don't want to just get big chest and tiny twigs, or big arms and small shoulders. You want to focus on working your whole body. And just because, as you mentioned about losing 3 to 5% muscle mass every decade, as we get older, our testosterone levels decrease. And that's just natural, right? So you can maintain your body's production of testosterone. There are ways to do that naturally without having to take medication or drugs. But again, everything's got to be on point and in line. Everything's got to be in its place if you want to do that. So just make sure you're continuously doing those exercises or training consistently.
Yeah, as I say, we'll come back and do another program on this, so that we can do the more practical side of it.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, when we're dealing with strong muscles and that, we're also talking about balance. So, and then that brings into other things. There's loads of little things, intricacies that come in. One of the things I can think about is when we were talking about electrolytes. We did a program on electrolytes
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically we're talking about sodium, potassium, magnesium. What's the other one?
Potassium.
Sorry?
Potassium.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is having a balanced approach to even fluids, because they're very important. And because you need balance. If you dehydrate, your balance is affected, right? And the lack of fluid will affect your muscles as well. Not only your mind and everything else, but your muscles. So it's very, very important. Strong muscles help you, and I think you mentioned this already about slipping and falling.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why older people have problems, because of balance and the fact they're getting old and they don't have the strength and balance to stay upright. It's but again, apart from fun, we've also got to think about work, because depending on what work you do, if you, as you said, I've mentioned it before, if you're in an office, then you've got to think about what you do when you're out the office. Okay, if you're on a job where muscles are, if you're digging, let's say building, you could be working on any form of lifting or digging anything at all where you're going to be moving. Okay, now again, that's great, but then you've got to think more about diet and things like that, and exercise. You've also got to do exercise, because working and sort of exercising is a little bit different to doing exercising for your fitness.
Because also very often, one of the biggest trends that came around in the early 2000s, or let's say the mid 2000s, around 2010, was functional training.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And functional training should never have been a trend, because the things that I've seen, but the things I've seen people, trainers, giving clients things to do as part of their functional training, I'm like looking, well, where's the functionality in that?
Yeah.
So functional movements, if somebody's doing a labor intensive job, okay, like for example, I have a client, he's a landscape architect. So he moves, he builds Japanese gardens and things like this, okay? So he moves a lot, and he moves a lot of heavy things. And I've got to do a lot of rehab and corrective exercises with him, because of the fact that he's moving in certain planes in a lot of ways. And what I mean by planes is you've got planes, yeah? So he's moving in certain planes a lot. And therefore, I've got to help his body to realign and readjust and reconnect in a functional manner. All right. So just even if you do have a labor-intensive job, or if you're doing a lot of physical work outside of training, as you say, Paul, it is important, but you want to take it easy. You don't want to be doing heavy stuff. You want to be light with yourself and just help the body to readjust. And this is where mobility comes in. Because many people that do a lot of labor work, they're only moving in certain planes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore their mobility is decreased. Their muscles might be strong, but their mobility is decreased significantly because they're not moving in other angles a lot. And therefore their hips get very tight, their lower back locks up a lot, their shoulders become imbalanced, and so forth. So even for trainers, personal trainers, man, some personal trainers, when you see them moving, they're lifting and pushing and pulling weights and helping their clients and stuff like that, there's certain planes that they're moving in continuously, and they're not doing other things to help correct that. And that over time, it leads to wear and tear and breakdown of the muscles, breakdown of the joints, and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, involuntary muscles, another couple of muscles that is important. There are some in the digestive system. Okay, and if you think when you eat something and it's starting to go down here, down the esophagus and right the way down, here, there's muscles here that help push the food down. It's a process called peristalsis, I think, if I remember right. And what it does, it manipulates them down and pushes the food down. I think there's another one in your colon as well. So, because you've got to think it's not just all about flow. You need a bit more help than just flow, unless you're ill. But so it's very, very important that you think about those muscles as well. So it's not just about walking and lifting and pushing and things like that. And the other one that's quite important is your eyes. You have muscles in your eyes that make it natural. We take it for granted. It's another thing that the way that we focus using muscles. All right. So again, very, very important. So anything else we can think of at all, Warren?
So this is what I want to just touch on, the eyes. If you're focusing a lot close to you on the computer or whatever, your phone, or writing on books or something like that, but you're focusing very close to you for work, then I would recommend every once in a while, try to keep it in your mind, is just to look up from wherever you are and look in the distance away from you for a few minutes if you can. Just if you've got a view, enjoy the view for a little bit. If you're in an office space, just look around you for a bit. People may wonder, why is Warren looking at me like that? But just looks away from you, or get up and go somewhere where you have a view, because that allows those muscles that are focusing close up to relax a little bit, give them a little bit of a break, and you then exercising those muscles that you're using to focus in the distance. They're different muscles. Okay, so it's the same like the muscles in your body. They you use different muscles for different purposes. So it's the same with your eyes. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well, because this is very often, this happened with me. Over time, working on when I started to work on my computer a lot, and more so than I was actually outside working with people, my eyes started to take a toll. And it's because I've been focusing a lot on working in close up with me, around me, in my space, not looking out a lot.
Yeah, very, very, very important that you take care of your eyes, take care of all your muscles. So what can go wrong with muscles? Now we'll keep this purely to training at the moment, because that's obviously one of your specialities. And so what can go wrong with muscles in a simple form?
What, without training, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. The muscles obviously they become weaker, all right, and they don't necessarily waste away, but very often they do because of people's diets, all right, because muscle it's easier to be metabolized than fat, for example. Okay, so especially when the muscles are not strong, then those muscles will then slowly waste away, and the fat will start to build up a lot more. You'll notice more high prevalence of fat in the body, and your metabolism then slows down. So your body's ability to burn energy slows down. So it ends up being this vicious circle, and the cycle just perpetually goes around, and then over time, everything else falls apart around that. Okay, your lack of ability to move, but the muscles, I'm trying to think what else to add to that. Ask me another question, because I can't think of anything else to add to that.
I know I do that. You go down a separate.
I think I've touched on everything already.
What was I going to say? But I mean, there are different things. I mean, you've got sprains. I'm sure we've all sprained our ankle at some stage, which, as you know, is, as long as you look after it, you're fine. Strains a little bit more, and there's different levels of strains. There's a strain where you just rest it for a few days, maybe a week at the most, and it goes right the way down to serious tears in the muscle. Now, when you tear a muscle, there's something wrong, because it feels heavily bruised and painful for a long while. But I would suggest going and seeing a professional when you do that. And I'll do it from personal experience. I thought that I'd just done the normal strain on my calf muscle. Okay. So I'm thinking there's three sort of levels or grades. And I can't remember if it's 1, 2, 3 or ABC. I can't remember now. But I thought it was the least one, which is, let's call it A. And it wasn't. It was a C. And it's very hard to tell. That's why you need help to be able to identify what it is, and then you can do the appropriate rest, relaxation, and if you need to do something else with a doctor or physio, then you do it.
Because just to emphasize on that, because some people, they may have a grade 1 tear.
Yeah.
Okay. But it feels like a grade 3 tear, because their pain threshold is not as high. But somebody who's typically regularly active and they are stronger, they maybe have a grade 3 tear, but it feels like a grade 1 tear or grade 2 tear.
That's exactly what happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the pain threshold is different.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's why it's important. You don't have to use a doctor or a professional person all the time, but there are times when you should consult. And your body will tell you. Your body, most of the
common
time.
sense. You'll know. Use common sense, and you'll know.
Yeah. So again, it's very, very important, and it doesn't have to be as painful. So don't. I mean, use the pain as a guide, okay? But it's not. It's not all everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you explained it really, really well. What else have we got? We're not going to go into the healthy diet part of it, because we do that all the time. But and we talk about sleep, we talk about hydration, we talk about healthy diet, and we talk about exercise. So, those things are really, really important. And I think at this stage, I think we've done enough on it just to give you an idea that you really do have to look after your muscles. And you look after them, it's all about prevention. All about prevention, 99% of it. And then, unfortunately, there are those a few occasions where it all goes wrong and you have to have, take action to deal with an injury. But if you can do it beforehand to avoid the injury, that's even better. And that goes with everything to do with your body. Prevention is better than cure, as they say.
If you look at the typical average Joe, they haven't run for 10 years. They decide, it's springtime, I want to go for a run. I want to get fit this year. And then they go for a run, and then they run for an hour, and then they come back, and the next day they wake up and they can barely walk because their feet are so bruised. All right, because the muscles in the feet and the ankles and the calf and the legs are not used to that kind of movement, and they're not strong enough to support the foot cushioning, the cushioning of the foot. And then you get that pounding. And most people don't run correctly. Their running is not correct for their body shape and size and whatnot. So it's just better just to maintain a level of some semblance of strength and conditioning, without going overboard all the time, but just create some semblance of especially for ladies with osteoporosis. You mentioned it earlier in the call, is that, bone density. It's, exercising, having strong muscles improves your bone density. And for ladies, this is a big thing. So there's more ladies struggle with porous bones than men do as they get older. Right? And that's a hormonal thing. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your muscles strong, you're keeping your muscles firm. And in essence, what that will do is it will also help reduce your blood sugar levels and cholesterol. All right. So, and of course, body fat is reduced as a recourse of that, because muscles require more energy. So when you're eating food, your muscles will want more energy as opposed to having that food be stored in the fat cells. And then also the cognitive thing. It's been shown, it's been proven that people that suffer with Parkinson's disease and even Alzheimer's, when they do things like kickboxing and cycling, or just boxing and cycling, it takes the shivers away, and it also helps them with their memory, with the memory recall. So there again, it's a cognitive cognitive benefits as much as it is skeletal benefits.
Absolutely, yeah. We believe in the whole body, synergy, and everything affects everything. So if you need any advice on muscles in any way, that includes the heart, right, then get in touch with us, and we'll help you out. With that, is there anything else you want to say, Warren?
Yeah, send us some feedback. Leave a message down below here. What are you doing right now? And if you're not sure whether you need advice or some help or not, we don't charge for advice or help, up to a certain point, of course. But we want to be of service. So if you think you're doing enough, or if you're not sure you're doing enough, then just leave a message down below and tell us what you are doing, and then we can perhaps share our own insights with you as to whether we feel like you could be doing a little bit more here, or switch it up, and we may even have a conversation with you, personal, private conversation, just to get some more info from you. But at the end of the day, it's going to benefit you. Don't just think, make sure, because at the end of it's your aging process, and it's your health of your body. Your body's a temple. And if one part of the temple is out of sync, it's no longer a temple. Then it's just a room. It's just a vessel then. So you want to make sure that keep that vessel as pristine as you would a temple. And that way, things are going to be much easier for you as you get older.
Yeah. And as you said, you don't have to be perfect.
No, yeah.
So, fantastic. All right, well, we'll call it a day, and Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please share it, or tell someone about it, or give them a link, and also, if you enjoy it and it's on Facebook, love it. If you think so, dislike it if you think so. We don't mind whatever it is, and we're quite happy to answer any questions. So with that, we're going to shoot off for the week. Go back to doing what we do: football, training, and everything else, and a bit of running, and coaching, yeah. So, and nutrition. Nutrition's a big one. So, have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next week on HealthyLife.tv.
Cheers, bud.
See ya.